Right, good morning all. My name's Kevin Duffy. I'm one of the solicitors and legal advisors from Scottish Engineering. And this is the next breakfast briefing, which is being organised in conjunction with Cycling Scotland. And I'm very pleased to say we've got Margaret Daly, who's one of the development officers for Cycling Scotland, and she is involved with the Cycling Friendly Employer Award and the Development Fund grant. So I'm hoping that Margaret is ready to go. Margaret, can you still hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
I can. So just
you're
frozen there. So what to do? Without further ado, I will hand over to Margaret. She can give a presentation. We've got some PowerPoint slides and a recording of the meeting, and the slides will be sent out to the participants later on. So Margaret, over to yourself.
No, that's great. Thanks very much. Yes, so my name's Margaret Daly, and firstly, thanks for inviting me along to your breakfast briefing. I'm a development officer for the Workplaces programme at Cycling Scotland, which includes the Cycling Friendly Employer Award and Development Fund grant. So what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to provide a brief overview of the work that we do at Cycling Scotland. And the work that we do provides opportunity for anyone, anywhere in Scotland to cycle easily and safely. So if you could move to the next slide, please. So for those unfamiliar with Cycling Scotland, we are the nation's cycling organisation with the vision of creating a sustainable, inclusive and healthy Scotland where anyone, anywhere can enjoy all the benefits of cycling. So from tackling the climate emergency to helping people stay physically and mentally healthy, we believe that bikes have an important role to play in supporting our environment, our economy, our society and our health. So we're funded through Transport Scotland and working with others, including various other cycle and active travel partners, the NHS and other healthcare groups, charities, transport organisations and several local authorities. Our aim is to create and deliver opportunities and an environment so anyone anywhere in Scotland can cycle easily and safely. So you might be familiar with some of the organisations on that slide. So we work with Sustrans, we work with local authorities, we work with transport partnerships like SPT, the NHS, Sestrans, Bike for Good. So we do work with a whole host of organisations in the public, private and the third sectors to deliver like cycling solutions and opportunities for everyone anywhere in Scotland. So next slide, please. So why do we do the work that we do? So the health and economic benefits of increasing cycling rates are proven. And just to highlight a few figures, to the individual, not exercising regularly and being overweight can increase the risk of developing a range of serious diseases, including some cancers and heart disease. So with around a third of adults not meeting the recommended minimum activity levels, physical inactivity adds to nearly 2,500 deaths in Scotland alone each year. And the cost to the economy is around 91 million per year. So the illustration on that slide, it might be familiar to some of you, but it's a great illustration and it shows the impact. We should be able to see that it shows an impact that an increase in cycling rates can have on congestion and the quality of our streets for everyone. So in Scotland, at the moment, the majority of journeys taken are classed as short, with more than half of those journeys under 5 kilometres and 16% of those journeys under 1 kilometre. So significantly, journeys by car is the most common mode of travel for all distances above 2 kilometres. And the proportion of single occupancy driving journeys was 66%, which I'm sure it's not a surprise to everyone, because if you're like on your morning or your evening commute, you can see there are a lot of people driving on our roads. So just to add to this and just to make the point, relatively few people actually changed their mode of transport they use to get to work in the year leading up to the pandemic. So of all the modes of transport, driving showed the least change. Next slide, please. So at Cycling Scotland, we have different areas of work. So the main areas of the work at Cycling Scotland are well, first of all, monitoring policy and promotional projects. So we work on a lot of monitoring policy and promotional projects. So these include the National Monitoring Framework, and that complements existing monitoring schemes to build a picture of cycling rates across the country. Through the use of, we do this through the use of 60 automatic cycle counters, as well as temporary count cameras and manual counts. We also publish the annual cycling monitoring report, which reports on a whole host of national indicators to inform a picture of cycling participation in Scotland. And we also run a yearly Give Cycle Space campaign. So this runs in partnership with Police Scotland, and it's to educate drivers about giving more space to people cycling. And it runs each year on radio, TV, online, and on the back of buses. And we introduced this because more than a third of drivers in Scotland don't leave the required 1.5 metres when overtaking a person on a bike. Next slide. So another aspect of Cycling Scotland's work is our education and training programmes. So you might be familiar with some of these if you've got kids at school, in primary school. So a few to highlight are Bikeability Scotland. So each year, tens of thousands of children take part in Bikeability Scotland training, which is the national cycle training programme for school children. And it's used to support the next generation of confident and responsible people travelling by bike. We also offer essential cycle skills, and this is a resource to help boost the confidence of those new or returning to cycling, and it gives people the necessary skills to negotiate on road journeys. And of particular interest with regards to employers is the practical cycle awareness training for drivers, which aims to make fleet drivers aware of the risks that people on bikes experience on the road. So that's training that we deliver to like organisations who've got a large fleet. So that could be like Scottish Water, who have got a large fleet of vehicles. So we deliver like training which is to raise the awareness of drivers or cyclists on the road. Right, so far we've covered the different areas of Cycling Scotland outside the Cycle Friendly programme, which I work on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly go over the Cycling Friendly aspect and specifically the employer programme. So the Cycling Friendly behaviour change programmes all do broadly similar work with each other, with each of the sectors by providing award schemes and development grant funds to support people to cycle to and within their workplaces, schools, campuses, communities and housing associations. So firstly, the first programme that we offer is the Cycling Friendly Communities. The Cycling Friendly Community Programme supports community groups in the third sector and the charity sector across Scotland to take a leading role in increasing the number of people who cycle within the area. We also offer Cycling Friendly Campus, and this supports colleges, universities across Scotland to promote cycling as a healthy, affordable and accessible travel option. The Cycling Friendly Schools programme, we work with primary schools and secondary schools across Scotland to allow children to enjoy the many benefits of cycling by providing them with the skills and confidence to cycle safely. And we also offer the Social Housing Fund. We support tenants living in social housing and residential properties across Scotland to enjoy improved and more accessible facilities within their buildings and common areas. So moving on to the focus of my role at Cycling Scotland. So our Cycling Friendly Employer work is a nationally recognised programme that provides an award scheme and grant funding to help organisations make it easier for their staff to cycle to work and for work purposes. So as I touched upon earlier, cycling supports good physical and mental health for staff, as well as easing congestion, improving the local environment and enhancing corporate and social responsibility by reducing carbon footprints. The Cycling Friendly Employer Award Scheme is a way to support workplaces throughout Scotland to take a leading role in increasing the rates of cycling to and from workplaces and cycling for work purposes. We also have a grant scheme available to address any lack or any barriers in providing facilities at at workplaces. So we do this through site assessments, which for the last couple of years, a lot of them have been carried out remotely, but we also do them face-to-face, and it gives us that opportunity to engage with employers, provide resources, specialist advice, and a framework that assists them in working towards the Cycle-Friendly Employer Award. The framework criteria for achieving the award looks at on-site facilities, so like your physical assets. So do you have cycle parking, changing facilities, secure cycle parking, that sort of thing. And we also look at organisational policies. So do you offer a cycle to work scheme? Do you offer cycle mileage? Do you promote cycling, offer cycling events to your staff? And we just would like to see whether or not you offer this sort of like positive communication and promotion at cycling at your workplace. So it's 3 set of criteria that we use to assess whether or not you are cycling friendly, and if there's any like barriers, meaning that you're not a cycling friendly organisation, then we would create an action plan for you to try and remove those barriers and make it possible for you to become cycling friendly. Next slide, please. So the Cycling Friendly Employer Development Fund, it's a capital fund of up to £25,000 per site that's open to all employers in Scotland to make improvements to their cycling facilities. So if you're an organisation who has like 10 sites throughout Scotland, then you can potentially apply for funding of up to £25,000 per site. The fund for this year, for 2022-23, is fully allocated. We had 88 organisations throughout Scotland from different industries applying for funding to the total value of, I think it was about £1.6 million. The fund was heavily over subscribed, but we were able to support 60 applications, which covered about, I think it was 77 sites, with a staff reach of over 40,000 and to an awarded value of £778,000. So the fund is open to all public sector, private sector and third sector organisations throughout Scotland. So we saw similar numbers last year in terms of the number of organisations who applied for the funding, with several employers receiving funding from multiple locations. And these organisations installed measures such as secure cycle parking, maintenance stations, drying facilities, changing facilities, and access to pool bikes, whether that's push bikes or e-bikes for their staff to use to get to and from work or between sites. So this year, the fund this year will be opening in the spring. So we're looking to open the fund in April, May. So applications are welcome from any employer throughout Scotland, with a site in Scotland that you want to address any existing barriers which is preventing your staff from cycling, such as providing bike storage, changing areas, or like push bikes. So thank you.
Okay, Margaret, thank you very much for
No
that input there. As always with the breakfast briefings, I'm happy to put it over to the members who have dialed in for a quick Q&A session. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi there, it's Mo from Petrol Assist.
Hello, Mo, how are you doing?
I missed you the first 5 minutes, but I was I didn't cycle fast enough, Margaret.
That's good to hear.
We've I don't know that this would work for us because we've got a challenge. We've had queries. We've got about 100 odd employees, but 60% of those guys are based in England. We're a service provider, as in the guys driving vans around about the place. We just think there's nothing that we can do when they ask us for the cycle to work scheme. There's nothing that we can give them because they can't drive from site to site or cycle from site to site because they carry motors and heavy machinery and stuff like that. There isn't any kind of way, because I did pick up you saying that there's different incentives that you can do. Is there anything that we can do as a business? Because obviously we're quite happy to encourage them to be fit if they're going to cycle. They just can't do it. They practically can't do it for work. And it's about 60% of our workforce we can't offer cycle to work to because of their job type. Any way around that?
are they like expressing an interest in getting bikes, or is it anything in particular, or is it like, do they travel between sites within Scotland as well? Do you have sites that they
We
would
do
be
have some in
travelling with?
Scotland. As I say, we've got about 100 employees, but 60% of them are based in England.
Right, so
And the service engineers have expressed an interest in asking if they can get a bike to work, because some competitors do. I don't understand how the competitors do it, because these employees can't cycle to their job or for their job.
No, I understand. Yeah, no, I can find out for you, because obviously the cycle to work scheme is to encourage people to cycle to work or for work
yes,
purposes.
I appreciate that.
You can obviously, you can obviously use it outside the work as well. But I can find out for you. I mean, so your organisation doesn't offer that scheme, I take it, Emma?
Well, we haven't. No one in Scotland's asked for it recently, to be honest with you, because we think we can't give it to the service engineers. I really haven't done anything with it. I myself got a bike a number of years ago through the scheme, through work. So we're happy to have it. It's just because we think we can't offer it to the people who've asked for it. I haven't gone out there and signed up to a scheme again, because we haven't done it for about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, I suppose. So I mean, I can do it for the 30 people that are on site and that are in Scotland. I know that we can do that, but it's just that I wondered if you knew of anything that there was any kind of way that we could do that to assist those employees that they're not based in Scotland anyway. We do have engineers that are in Scotland, but those ones that just by the nature of their job, they can't cycle to work, but they're keen to cycle.
Yeah, no, I can certainly find out for you if you like want to send your details to see what's. Yeah, just to see what, because there should be schemes that's available, and I'll give you details on how the different schemes available for cycle to work, because it could be that that through your organisation they can get a bike.
Right, okay.
Obviously, one of the sort of criteria, I mean, I don't know how it's monitored, is that you should be monitoring, like cycling rates at work. But you're right, if your workers, if the vast majority of your staff they can't cycle to work because of the nature of their job, then they're not able to apply to that. It looks like they're not able to apply to that scheme, or they're not qualified for it. But I can find out for you, because I'm sure there are some schemes that are available, and I can pass that detail on to you.
Perfect. Thanks then, Margaret. It was just on the off chance. I didn't think it was possible. But if you're aware of something, that would be handy.
I can find out for you.
Well, I'll put you both in contact after
that's brilliant.
After
Thanks,
breakfast briefing.
No bother. Thanks, Mo.
Any further questions at all from the participants?
Yeah, my name's Alison from Delta. Hello. Hi. We're actually in leased accommodation. We've got a cycling for work scheme. Would it still be worth applying for the grant for any kind of mobile cycle storage that could be moved from site to site if we were to move from our current leased building?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We do have organisations who have applied for funding, and they are like the same as you. They're leasing the property that they're working from. Within the terms and conditions, we do ask that you obviously let us know if you're moving site and if you're able to move that storage. Because sometimes if it's fixed, for example, the site, it might be difficult to move it, but we have had organisations in the past that have been able to move like cycle storage from one site to another. I mean, if you're not able to do that, then I mean, if it needs to stay in that location, then that's absolutely fine with us as well, providing that the new tenants or like property owners fine with that as well. But you can apply for the funding. I mean, do you know how long you're going to be in that office space for?
Another 2 years at least.
Aye, so no, that's absolutely fine. If you need, if you've identified that need that like storage is something, secure storage is something that, I mean, is a requirement for your organisation, especially if it is encouraging people to cycle, then yeah, please do apply for funding.
Okay, thank you.
No bother.
Okay, good questions. Any further?
Yeah, I was just actually going to add to the lady's last point there. I'm Susan from Grease Monkey Cycles. We actually do a buy it back scheme. We offer the storage solution. So if it was an issue for any leased properties where they weren't able to keep the storage on site, then we would actually take it back. So it was just to highlight that point, basically.
No, that's great. Susan. That's good to know. Thanks, Susan.
Okay, still got another 10-ish minutes. Margaret's happy to take any further questions.
Yeah. I mean, I can send all the details over to you Kevin, regarding like funding. If there's like people who are interested, who think their organisation or their employer is interested in applying for funding, come April. So we do actually have an expression of interest form where you can register with that, and what that means is once the fund opens back up, you'll get a prompt, you'll get an email saying that you can now apply for funding. And the funding application, it isn't incredibly detailed. What we want is for you to show that there's a need for whatever it is you're applying for, whether that's e-bikes, cargo bikes, cycling storage, changing facilities, showers, that sort of thing. So it's just, you just need to show that you've identified that need and that there is a barrier, and you do have people that are wanting to cycle to work, and like these things will encourage that. So I can send those details on, those links to the funding application.
Ideal. Okay, I think we've got a hand there. Russell, you've got a point.
Good morning, everyone. Hi there.
Yeah.
Russell Yeamans from BA Systems in Glasgow.
Yeah.
We've got a kind of slightly different issue in the terms of, we've got several thousand people between our two sites in Scotstoun and Govan, and we've got car parks as far as the eye can see, but we've also got we do have cycle facilities, but it's just a case of, we're trying to stand up a way to encourage more people to leave the car at home. Is that something that Cycling Scotland can help with? Like I said, we've got facilities, they're not great. We are lobbying the company for better facilities, but it's a case of, how do we turn that car culture into an active travel culture? People walking to work or taking a bus to work or cycling to work. Is that something that Cycling Scotland can help us with in terms of winning the hearts and minds type of thing?
No, we do have a lot of material that I'd be able to send over to you, like some suggestions in what you can do to encourage or to make it an attractive sort of prospect for people to actually take on, because for a lot of people there are barriers to cycling. It could be they don't have a bike, affordability. It's just that whole confidence, I think, is a big thing as well. So we actually provide training for staff where we get a cycle training team who will come in and give training or confidence building in cycling for people who maybe can't cycle or are new to cycle, or it's something they haven't done maybe in the last 10, 15 years. Yep. So I think a big barrier can be confidence as well. But do you know if I think you can also apply for the Cycle Friendly accreditation award. So that might be something that is it BA Systems might want to look into. It's like an accreditation, and basically you would list everything that you're doing to encourage cycling at the workplace. But often there's obviously big gaps in that. And what we would do is once you've registered, we'd support you by creating an action plan, and that would help encourage hopefully your staff to cycle to work and identify any gaps that are making that difficult. So it could be that you don't have the facilities. So you might have to apply for funding so that you do become cycling friendly, so that you can install better cycle parking. I mean, it could be that people don't want to leave their expensive bikes parked up outside. A lot of people, there is a sort of fear of doing that as well, especially if you don't have secure cycle parking. But there are a lot of great cycling, secure cycling assets and facilities out there, and I know that Grease Monkey provide a lot of good storage solutions for organisations as well.
No, it'd be really interesting in terms of having a look at because part of the battle, I'll be honest with you, is convincing the business that there is these gaps. Because a lot of people just go, oh, we've got a shed, or we've got the showers. There's 5 showers in Scotstoun, and there's about 2,000 employees. So, we want to get them to open their eyes, type of thing. So it's but they'll always build more car parking. That's absolutely. That's the issue. So we just want to get them to go. That's not always the answer. It's induced demand, as far as I'm concerned. The more car parking you provide, the more people will drive their car in. So no, it would be great to have a chat afterwards and see if
it would be great. Yeah. We can you could register your organisation with the Cycle Friendly Award, and then what we would do is I'd sit down with that list of criteria, and we'd look at where there's gaps, where you're doing well, where there's gaps, and then what we can do to help support that. And it could be things like having a cycle champion within your organisation, having a bike user group, using corporate social media platforms, that sort of thing, to get that message out there, signposting people to to different events, carrying out your own events. So we can do a lot to like help support that sort of behaviour change within the workplace, and also with regards to like car parking when we are, if an organisation applies for grant funding, what we usually suggest is if you've lacking in space, for example, to put something like cycle storage, then we would much prefer you to use it in a parking space. Because as you said, you can offer like loads of parking space. People, if it's there, people will drive as well. But if there's like cycle parking, then maybe they'll cycle.
Yep, yep, agreed. That I think you're you don't need to convince me. It's just how we get that message up the tree, isn't it? So because there's always a lot of blockers. But no, it'd be great to have a chat after this. And
let's
see
do
if
that.
You can help us out. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
I'll circulate the contact details afterwards as well. I think we've got a further hand as well up from Graham.
Hi, Graham.
Graham Fleming.
Hi, my name is Graham Fleming from Caledonian Industries in Hillington. Hiya. We've got a new site and we've got showers and secured bike parking and bike racks, but nobody's ever used them. So it's very much like Russell there. So it's really just about how we go about cajoling the people into, maybe using bikes, even going between sites. Obviously the roads round about Hillington and where people live in Paisley they're pretty tight, some of them, and probably not always the nicest to cycle on. There's no cycle paths really round about some of that area at the moment. And they're quite kind of low income households. So it's probably
I get what you mean.
It'll be quite interesting to see if we can maybe get communal bikes potentially through the grant. We have electric car charging points, and again, not being used. So I don't know maybe whether they can be repurposed to charge bikes and such like as well. Just like to hear your thoughts on that.
No, I think the fact that you've got those facilities, you do have those assets. You have, like as you said, changing facilities. You have cycle parking, and people, aren't using it. I'm just wondering if your organisation offers like cycle to work schemes like that, because that is one of the criteria in gaining the award. The Cycle Friendly Award is: does your organisation offer a cycle to work scheme?
We don't offer an official one, but we're quite willing to support people. To do these things. There are a few people that do cycle, but we don't have an official scheme as yet.
No, that's fine. What I would suggest is registering for the Cycle Friendly Award, and again, I'll send those details out. Just registering your workplace for that, and then we can create an action plan like together, or with one of our assessors. You'll be assigned one of our assessors, and then we can see, again, we can like just try and work out what it is we can do to encourage people to cycling, especially if you do have those facilities on site. And you're right, it's like if you've got them, you do want people using them, and what are the barriers? Why aren't people? So finding out why people aren't using them, and it could be, that you need a cycle champion, a bike user group, and sometimes it just takes that one person to come in with their bike. I think as well, and start using those facilities for other people to show a bit of interest. Again, if people are travelling less than 5 kilometres, then it would be reasonable to suggest cycling. It's not under 5 kilometres isn't a great distance, but for some people, it's a confidence thing as well. It might be it's just not something that they've not cycled in years, or not cycled since they've been quite young, and it's just like cycling on the roads can be quite daunting for people. But we do offer, as I said before, like cycle training, so we could, like, for example, organise something where our cycle training team could maybe like come in and like present on the work that they do as well. And just to like, if it is something, if that is a barrier, like the sort of like confidence thing, especially for adults, then there are like training opportunities out there to help get people back on their bike.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
No bother.
No problem. Do we have any further questions at all? If not, Margaret, just to thank you on behalf of sorry.
That's brilliant. No, that's great.
I'll pick up with yourself, Margaret, after the meeting by email, just to find the best way to circulate the contact details for you.
Yeah.
But other than that, unless there are any further questions, again, thank you very much, Margaret, for giving a very interesting presentation. Thanks to all the participants who asked interesting questions. And on that note, I'll let you get back to your day job.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Have a
everyone.
great
Good day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Bye bye.
Bye.